What's up, everybody? It's Rob Cosman, and if this is your first time watching my videos, I'm a Canadian CPA and I run a firm with my wife primarily for online sellers, Amazon, Shopify, whatnot. Go ahead and subscribe, please. I don't have many subscribers. Hit the bell. I've got more videos coming, but I want to get this one out. So, what I want to talk about today is getting your Amazon.com payments made into what they call like a virtual account. So if you're a non-resident, like a Canadian seller and selling on Amazon.com, how do you get your money out of Amazon paid into US dollars? Okay. First of all, if you want to get paid in US dollars, Amazon.com will only pay into accounts that are based in the United States. So if you're a brand new seller, for instance, in Canada, and you want to get it paid into a US dollar account that's at RBC in Canada, you can't. They'll pay into your Canadian dollars ones, but what'll happen is Amazon will take the foreign currency. Now the foreign currency there is probably 4 to 6%. It definitely sucks, but if you're brand new and you're not really sure the business is for you, you know what, just do it. Like, it's easy. But if you're serious in this business and you want to save the money and do the right thing on your exchange rate, then I think you should look at getting what is an OFX account, a virtual account with OFX.com. So, a little story, a little bit of background on how I stumbled across it and found it and checked it out. So one of my international clients, he's a big PL guy out of Asia. He sells on 5 different markets. He was reached out to me to help him get registered for sales taxes in Canada. And we were just shooting the breeze, and I said to him, like, how do you manage all these currencies? Because you're buying in US dollars from Chinese suppliers, you're getting US dollars from .com. Now you're going to get Canadian dollars from Canada, and he was selling in the UK, and he was selling in Germany, and all over. So he said, Rob, you got to check out OFX.com. OFX is how I work it. Gave me the name of his rep. I got in touch. I just started drilling him with a bunch of questions, did a little bit of research, and then finally opened up my own account. So this is kind of how it works, because the website doesn't explain it in detail, and it is a little complicated. So if you kind of understand, then I just want to kind of walk through from A through Z. And there's other nuances, and I haven't used it for all the different types of scenarios, but I've got a lot. So first of all, if you want to open an account, you got questions, just send an email to my rep. I'll put her name down in the comments. She's great. She sits in Toronto most of the time. I've got like 2 reps. Anytime you want to talk to them, pick up the phone, send an email, super responsive. You're not going to get dropped in a call center. So how it works. They basically have an account with the Bank of America, and they set up in trust in your name. So what you'll do is you'll get this interface which manages your cash that comes in. So what happens is the first thing, they'll set up your account. They'll do a bunch of due diligence. So you need to have like a bank account with your business name on it already. They'll check your driver's license. You have to fill out a couple forms. They'll ask for your storefront. Don't sweat this. You can change your storefront later. What they want to see is that it's what they call like anti-money laundering, know your clients. So they want to make sure you're not selling, I don't know, uranium, and you're not some warlord trying to launder money. It's a bit of due diligence that they know what you're doing, and they might even ask for like an invoice from one supplier. I had that. I just sent them one, like, okay, here's who I buy stuff for. Don't worry, they're not trying to steal your ASINs or your sources or anything. You can send them an invoice from their accountant. Just they want to know a bit about your business and what they're doing so that they can kind of check the boxes and fill out the forms. Now, once you get set up, they're going to give you a letter on their own letterhead, and it's going to say addressed to Amazon, and it's going to have the banking head's name on it and everything, but it's going to say that, okay, we've set up this account in your name, it's at the Bank of America, and your company name and everything, and you can give that to Amazon when you switch over your banking info. Because you kind of do it 2 ways. Like if you've ever switched your banking info, sometimes Amazon might freeze your account for suspected fraud or whatnot. So you can kind of be preemptive and call them up and say, I'm going to switch it, and give them the information first, or just do it, cross your fingers, and if they do freeze it, what you usually do is, like I've had it before, I sent them in the letter, I sent them in my incorporation documents, I sent them in a copy of my passport, and I had it unfrozen within an hour. Like, no big deal, okay? So once you've gone through the background with OFX, opened up the account, then you're going to get a dashboard and a virtual account. So Amazon.com is going to pay the money into that account. They're going to receive it. Now, there's a few different things you can do at that point. So they haven't taken any fees once they've got it. now the money's in your virtual account. You can log in and you can pick if you want to convert it to different currencies. So for me, I need Canadian dollars quite often, so the US money will come in. I'll say, okay, I've got $1,000 to sell or 10,000 or whatever it is, and they'll give me a quote right there. And it like expires after a few seconds, but they give me kind of an active quote. The more you exchange, the better the quote you get. So you can play around with them, be like, oh, 1,000 and 10,000, and see if they give you better rates. You can hold if you want. Markets go up and down. You can wait a bit. It's held in trust. These guys have all the, deposit insurance with the regulators. They're not some random people on the internet. They're, legit. So you can hold it there for a few days or weeks or whatever you want until the timing's right, and then convert it. So what I do is I'll have it deposited in, then I will just make a foreign currency deal, and then they'll send it to my Canadian dollar account. Now, one of the good things is their exchange rates are better than what you're going to get from a traditional bank. So I did the analysis, like I had an RBC US account, and I was going to convert US dollars that way. Whereas if I did it through OFX, last time I did the math, I saved like 2.5%. So as the year goes on, it definitely adds up. So you can do that. You basically get the US dollars, convert it to Canadian, deposit it into your account. The other thing you can do is just get the US dollars and you can send it to like a Chinese supplier or whoever you need US dollars. Now, they will charge you, I think it's like 1%. You might be able to negotiate better if you're doing bigger volumes, but they'll charge you just because the money comes in and they have to pay wire fees to send it out. Now, if you're doing a lot of purchasing from Chinese suppliers, that might not be the best option. I've got another option. I'm going to put the link below called TransferWise. I'll do another video on that and how they work. So, again, if you have different options and methods of moving your money around and a backup plan, then you can switch between the two. So let's stick with OFX. So that's one way it'll work. Another way that I've done is, for instance, I get PayPal payments in US dollars. Now, if I switch it with PayPal, I don't get the best rate if I want to switch it back to Canadian. So what I'll do is I'll actually withdraw from my PayPal, put it in my Canadian US dollar account. Then I will open up a trade in OFX. And then OFX, I do the deal and say, okay, I want to, sell $200 US and buy whatever in Canadian. They'll give me a rate. I say, yeah, approve the deal. What I had to do is I had to sign up and make a debit agreement. So in the debit agreement, they'll go into my bank account, take that money out, and then they'll exchange it and put it back in. First time you do it, it'll take like 3 or 4 days just to do all the checks and balances and verify all the accounts and stuff. But then once you've done that, it usually will only take like 1 business day. So if I do a trade in the morning, the next day the cash gets put back in, which is pretty sweet. Okay. Now, there's some other different scenarios. Sometimes, people are moving money around. Again, if you email my rep, she'll get on the phone, talk you all through, kind of what your business is and what your needs are. Now, like this is also a virtual account, so it's not like a traditional checking account. The flip side is you're not paying a whole bunch of monthly fees. There's no monthly fees. They make their margin on the foreign exchange, and then if you pass through, then they take a small fee. So of course you're not going to be paying like your tactical arbitrage subscription and things like that out of it. That's not really what it's meant for. I don't know if it can, but that's not what it's meant for. It's used for facilitating moving money around. So then if you start selling in other markets and you need pounds or euro and you're getting paid in like that, you can set up other accounts that basically will allow you to manage everything all in one. Okay. The negatives to it so far that I've seen is if you want to trade, like I have a personal account, they can't debit out of a personal account. They can only debit out of a business account. So if I have some US currency and I want to swap it, I can do it. I can basically send an ACH or a wire, which costs me a little bit, but if it's a large enough amount, I should be able to save on the foreign currency. So if you want to just automatically debit it out, the business account has to match. The other thing is if you're putting any funds in or whatnot, it has to go through the business account, because what they've done is basically their due diligence is on the business, and so everything needs to flow through business related accounts and not personal accounts. Okay. I think that is probably covers most of it. Some of my clients will still set up a US dollar account, maybe like a BMO Harris or TD Cross Border, which is good and fine, and I probably recommend it. Some of them charge small fees, like RBC Georgia Business charges a lot. But it's also nice to have other options, a good backup plan. If you're moving money around, you're converting a lot, I find this really good. Just simple, the money gets deposited in. You can log in and say, yep, I want this, do the exchange rate, gets dropped into your account the very next day. You're not like running all over town or taking cashier's checks or anything to shady foreign currency guys to save a little bit. It's just, you'll definitely save from the banks, and it's easy, and it just kind of works. It's simple enough. So that covers OFX. I'm going to do another video on another one where, as I said, if you want to try to pay suppliers, it might be a little bit easier, but this, I just love the OFX account, the ease of movements, the money around, the customer support. It just kind of works. So again, hit the subscribe, check out my links below. I got some other free groups in the detail that I run. Please join them and tune in for my next video. Thanks.